Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the Tuesday Facebook Live in the Fire Drill Podcast group. I am super excited to be here and really excited to get to hang out with you and somebody pretty awesome for the next 45 minutes or so. So, first off, some ground rules, housekeeping stuff. Next week we will not be having a Facebook Live. I will be flying on Tuesday night to Orlando to FinCon, which I am super stoked about. Welcome, Claudia. So yeah, and I can't do it on Monday night either because we have a family dinner. So no Facebook Live next week. There's no event in the group, or there shouldn't be. I'll double check just to make sure. There shouldn't be an event for next week, so it won't be on your calendar, so you won't be reminded. And we can all have a nice cry together because we won't be spending 48 minutes together like we normally do per week. Super sad. Okay, so second thing, speaking of FinCon, super excited to go next week. We're going to learn a lot. We're going to hang out with some cool people. We're going to have some good times. We're going to eat some delicious food. And yeah, I'm basically just really excited. Oh, yeah, and there's Disney afterwards. What up, Dylan? Thank you, Kelly. Yes, I did get my hair cut. It feels so nice, especially when it was like 90 degrees out. Ugh, not good to have long hair on the back of your neck. So yeah, so I'm going to Disney, which again, hot, humid, gross. Nice to have short hair. Super excited about that. And we are up for several Plutus Awards. I think I mentioned that last week, but I'm going to say thank you again just because you guys are amazing and we couldn't do it without you. So we are an award finalist for Podcast of the Year, Best Co-Hosted Podcast, because, you know, me and my co-host rock. Love my co-host. She's amazing. And we are also up for Best Fire Blog or Podcast of the Year. So that is super duper exciting and amazing and awesome, especially because it seems like every day there's like 8 million blogs being started in the fire community. So we stand out from a crowded field and it's amazing and I love it. So thank you for nominating us, and think of me next week and a little bit of the week afterwards. I don't know if we're going to have a Facebook Live the week afterwards either. I'll still be in Disney, and it's the Food and Wine Festival, so we might have a live from Disney. Who knows if my phone has enough battery charge. Airman Mildollar, what do you think about that? Do you think we should have a Facebook Live while we're at Disney, chowing down on a bunch of delicious food and drinking a bunch of delicious drinks? We'll see what she says here, because I think that'd actually be pretty fun. It's going to be Airman Mildollar and myself and my boyfriend and Reaching for Fi. So we're pretty excited to all hang out and have fun. But speaking of my boyfriend, nice segue there, he is my special guest tonight. So I'm very excited and glad that he could join us. So I'm going to bring him on. You might know him as the Mastermind Within. I know him as my special someone who's really amazing and really awesome to me. So I'm going to scooch over just a little bit and have him swivel in. Hey, Eric, how's it going?
Hello, Facebook fire drillers. I don't know what you call your people.
Amazing, that's what we call everybody.
Hello, amazing.
Well, they are amazing. Their name isn't amazing. They're awesome people, that's what they are. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about, sorry, I just can't get over.
Is Disney?
Well, yeah, so we could talk about Disney if you really want to.
No, what were you going to ask?
Well, I was going to ask you to walk us through your salary for the last couple of years. I know you're pretty open about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gone up like a ton, like a lot, to the point where I was like kind of jealous. Because when we started dating, our salary was pretty much dead equal. And then he got a big raise. And then I quit my job. So, of course, went, pew. And then he got another raise. So it's like, whoosh. So how did you get all those raises? And how much did you increase your salary in the past couple of years?
Okay, so after I went through my master's, my first job was at 63,000, and
Not too
then
shabby for first job.
after 16 months of that job, I switched departments and got a 10% raise there. So then I was at, with also a merit increase in there, then I was up to 73. And then a year later after that, then got a promotion to 76.
Okay.
Actually, no, then I got a promotion to about 88. And then just recently got another raise to 101. So there was a lot of, so it was two departments, technically two different job titles, but then like a couple different responsibilities and things in there as well.
So how did you get those? How did you switch departments? How did you get those raises? How did you get those new job titles?
Yeah, the first job, when I took it, I thought there'd be more opportunity. It was in a new group, but after being in it, it was more reviewing other people's work and not doing the work. And I have two math majors, and so I'm someone who likes doing things and who likes coding and all those sorts of things. But again, what I was doing was reviewing other people's work, so that was very exciting. And then something that happened at the company I work at is every January there's an all-employee event, and in this particular one, we went to the event, and then afterwards, me and my friend we went to the bar, and there was a couple of our colleagues there, and one of them was the manager of a statistics group in the company I work for, and we started chatting, and then I was like, yeah, I'm not too happy with my job, and they're like, oh well, you should just put your resume into our new job opening, and maybe we'll talk to you, because they can't poach me, but they can be selective with their words.
Strongly encourage.
Yeah, and so then a couple months later, then I got in the interview process and then moved over there. And so two things here which aren't talked about always with like increasing your income inside of a company is that you need to be working for a company that's actually doing well and has room for growth. And then also, if you're in a company like that, then finding what departments might pay a little bit more or that just might have more opportunity in there, because just by moving over there, it was a bump.
Yeah, so I had that happen as well. I moved from the main corporate headquarters to a different part of the company, and that was all like the financial wing, so it was dealing with like the loans and stuff. And there was basically no room for growth there, and that place was actually actively toxic to people's careers. I had a coworker who tried to move out of her position 8 different times and was denied because of one manager sabotaging her career. So then when I moved back, my career options opened up again, and I was lucky to escape that. So yeah, that's definitely an avenue that's not really talked about in fire, is increasing your income at your day job in order to fire faster, because you've gone up almost $40,000 in the past 3 years.
Hmm?
Which,
Yeah.
So what is it more important to side hustle and earn $5,000 to $10,000 in a year, or is it more important to grow your salary super high?
Well, so it's the paradox of side hustling, what I call it. I wrote a post on ESI Money about it. But a lot of the things that I've tried to do in the last couple of years is side hustle. And something that's led to my growth in my day job has been communication. So I'm a natural introvert. When I was younger, I was very quiet. I just was
Totally hard to believe.
awkward. Yeah.
Incredibly difficult to believe. So difficult.
And so when I was 24, then I'm like, well, then I was like, okay, I need to work on my communication, because ultimately, if I want to be a manager or if I want to move up,
I'd say he still needs to work on
it's true. It's really important in relationships as well.
it.
But then starting a blog or starting a podcast, like those two things in particular have led to me like working on my written communication, spoken communication. And so anyways, the paradox of side hustling, I started these side hustles, and then over time like I got my communication got better, and then all of a sudden it helped my day job, even though I didn't actually do it necessarily. Like I did it to side hustle and to make money on the side, but I didn't actually, you get it.
Yeah. So
Now I'm reading the comments
yeah.
and I'm
So
getting distracted.
Dylan asks, do you feel you have a pretty standard job for your major, or have you moved to a specialty niche to make more?
I don't know what a standard job for a math major is, unless it's like working in like being a teacher or a professor or in academia. My degree is in financial math, my master's, and so yes, it's a little bit more niche in the financial industry, but it's not too exotic. It's still like I would say most of the people on our team have statistics backgrounds or economics or some sort of
Just from
modeling.
knowing his story, I would say that he has specialized as he's gone up the ladder because he started to do more with coding and computer languages and things that are outside the skill set of what he learned and started out with in stats.
Hmm.
So that's what I would say. I would say starting off in stats is great, and you can certainly get better at stats and hone a specialty. But what's really compounded his growth has been learning things outside of his major skills. Would you
Well,
agree?
I would also say just in general with jobs, you don't necessarily learn things in school that you're going to do, so you always are adding different things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, I wouldn't say it's like too specialized because just in general, you're always going to be adding different things as your career goes on. I don't know. I'm just,
Says the person who's had a career for 4 years.
yeah. I've been working for about 10, 12, a
Well,
long time.
yeah, but like career job.
Yeah.
Accounting for your dad doesn't count.
Why not? I got a company back $250,000.
Yeah, but still, that's not like working your way up the corporate ladder.
I could have
That's a
helped.
job, not a career.
Hmm.
That's what I would say. I would say there's a difference between a job and a career. A job is what you do, and you can see yourself doing that forever, maybe being a manager, and that's about it. But a career is one that you have for a very long time that spans a lot of different jobs, a lot of different layers on the jungle gym or the ladder, whichever one you would say. So that's what I would say. Dylan says, what percentage of math majors know how to code? I'd venture to say quite few.
In recent times, a lot more because with different statistical packages or different computing things, it's more, well, how can you process big data? How can you simulate data and do things of that nature? And so, how do you do that efficiently? Well, that's not obvious. And so, I would say quite the good ones. And so, maybe that's to your point. But most math majors do have to take some coding courses in school, and some will do double major or minor or something like that. So I actually go maybe, I don't know, maybe 50%. And then there's also different flavors of coding too,
I
where
would
it's like not
say,
everyone's a software developer, but still some people might be in VBA, in Excel, or like in a Tableau, which is some sort of reporting.
yeah, but I would say that not everybody is motivated to expand upon the modules that they learned in college.
Okay. Okay, well, what the heck? Like,
What I'm saying is that you're special and you're motivated and you've achieved abnormal results because of the opportunities that you've been given and taken and rocked.
well, like for example, one of my friends who isn't necessarily working for like a big analytics company, he has a math major, and now he's using Tableau, which is an analysis tool. And so it's not necessarily a coding thing, but it's still like he's still applying those thought processes of like very linear thinking. Anyways,
Yes, Dylan, he is still speaking English. If your eyes have gone like this, I don't blame you. I like it though. I think he's cute when he talks about math stuff.
we aren't even touching the surface.
Thank goodness. Okay, so
I gave Dylan a shirt this weekend.
You did give Dylan a shirt
Yeah.
this weekend.
You better be wearing it. I'm wearing it.
I'm sure that he loves the shirt because it's very high quality. Although it's Tuesday, so I don't know if he's gotten it yet.
He did. He got it Saturday. He texted me.
Oh, nice. All right, Dylan, you'll have to let us know in the comments if it's nice or not. All right, so going back to that part where we talked about if it's better to side hustle or focus on your career, and how focusing on a side hustle has actually helped his career. Would you say it's worth it for people with a 9 to 5 to get a side hustle?
So for me, it always goes back to goals. And for anyone else, it goes back to what are your goals and what do you enjoy doing? Something that isn't necessarily thought of before asking that question of do you need a side hustle? Should you have a side hustle? Whatever flavor you want to have there is what are your goals? If your goals are to just work at a job and then you want to go out at night or you want to do fun stuff on the weekends, well then maybe a side hustle isn't for you. And maybe then it's, it goes back to your goals. And like in my case, I want to grow my income, but be that both at my day job, but then also on the side, coming up with possibly different income streams. And so for me, the question is like, well, yes, I do want a side hustle. And again, it goes back to the goals. And so you can't just say like, oh, you always should have a side hustle. Like personally, it's worked out for me. At the same time, though, I've wasted a ton of time. If you're looking at monetarily, like my hustles, I've spent hundreds of hours on blogging and podcasting in my side business, and I haven't made a dime really. I mean, I've made a couple $1,000s, but it's not like amazing. So it's,
what does that work out to, like 20 cents an hour for pay?
Yeah. And so like, yeah, but then at the same time, it's like some of the stuff that I'm trying to create, even though those are like 20 cents an hour, through networking, I have an $85 an hour side hustle doing statistical consulting, which I made about $10,000 now in 2 years, which I didn't expect because all of a sudden one of my old coworkers just, he contacted me and said, hey, do you want to pick up some hours? And so again, like certain things, all of a sudden just being open and having somewhat of an abundance mindset, like that's what, and I think that's more the view that, so number one, goals, and then number two is just being open to different things, because I don't know, we only have one life, but at the same time, just being open to something that could be beneficial is always a good thing.
And networking helps, either in a bar or going out to lunch. Very helpful. So what kind of side hustles have you started since in the last couple of years, I guess?
Yeah, well, the first big one was house hacking, which you put, well, actually, we're still doing it.
He's still doing it, technically. He's my landlord as well.
Monetize your life.
I had to sign a lease.
Got to make sure we got our legal things in place.
Also, so he can count the money off on his taxes for house repairs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the day before I turned 23, I put an offer in on a house. And I'm someone who sometimes just does things without thinking.
Sometimes.
So it was literally like 5 days after I decided I was going to look for a house that I went and put an offer in on the house. But I got the house that we're currently in, and then I had 3 roommates. Some of the mortgage with insurance and property taxes and all that was $1,820, and my rent was $1,650, and so I was paying $170 a month, and then taking on all of the risk, and then also, getting the principal back. And so really it was a net gain.
For repairs and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, so it was a net gain for me, and I did that for, well, I'm still doing it, but I did it for about 27 months with multiple people. And so over the last...
that I was coming in and they scattered like roaches in the light. Poosh!
So
they were gone.
Yeah, over the last 4 years, I made about $43,000 in terms of rent.
Dylan, I'm not shady. That's rude.
So that's been a very good win, and that's definitely led to some massive net worth gains and help me pay off student loans and an auto loan and some of my mortgage, and then just has helped out a lot.
So what else have you done?
So then, like I said earlier, got my blog, which I started at the beginning of 2018.
I think that one's my favorite of your side hustles. I
That-
might be biased because that's how we met.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I wrote a really silly post in May. So, Dylan, I see you have a question with being burnt out. So I'm going to answer that in a second here. I was thinking about that recently. So maybe that's going to be a good tangent.
Mm-hmm.
But then last year in May, then I got connected with a high school friend. And then we started down a track of trying to start a t-shirt print on demand business, and then also a subscription box around kombucha tea. And then like I was doing the statistical consulting, which I talked about. And so I had a lot of stuff going on, and I definitely was getting burned out at different points. So in May, I was
This year.
last year.
Oh.
Last year in May, I was getting to a bad habit where I was waking up early before work, and I'd sometimes write. And so one day I woke up and I was like, okay, well, I have this silly idea. I'm gonna write a post that's just completely joke, and and I'm just gonna be like, okay, I want to find a wife, and she doesn't even need to work. She doesn't need to have any job qualifications. No debt is preferred.
Low standards. Anybody with a pulse?
I just want to write her off, or whatever or claim her as a dependent, not write you off. Oops. So I wrote that, and then Gwen, this is the first comment that she left on my blog. And
I didn't even know his blog existed until this point.
So that was a really silly post. And so that one, so like when you blog, one of the things is like you want to shoot for 1,000 words, but I think that one was like 540 words.
It was pretty short.
That I wrote in like 30 minutes, and then I just hit publish like half awake. I was just like, yeah, this is silly. And so yeah, so that was kind of silly. And then yeah, Gwen left the first comment, but that's my most viewed post and most commented post, which is kind of bizarre to think about. Gwen's copying in the URL here.
There's the URL.
Yeah, so give me more views and clicks.
Don't click on it. It was a trap.
Make sure to sign up for my email list as well.
Stop it. Stop it. They don't care.
4 freebies.
Stop.
They can get
Stop.
debt destruction tool.
Oh my goodness.
And an income
Stop
statement.
it. I will end this right now. Don't make me. Anyway, so you started a blog, you house hacked, and you did the kombucha and the t-shirt business.
Yeah.
How have those worked out for you? I mean, obviously the house worked out really great. The blog worked out even better because you met me.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. With the business, that taught me a ton in terms of partnerships and stuff like that, where I didn't necessarily, I thought that I knew the guy, but I guess I didn't.
High school friends change.
Well, and we weren't really friends. It was more like we both had a goal, and then halfway through the summer, he had just different wants and different goals, and so he wasn't working on it. And then over time, we just kind of separated, and it was like, okay, I get it. You're working on something else. It's not going to work out. And so then he took the t-shirt part of it. I took the kombucha subscription box, and we split up. And so that taught me a ton with legal partnership agreements and LLC stuff and all that. And then in the beginning of this year, rebranded, and now hopefully there'll be a big holiday season, because now I think the branding's a little bit better. And then in terms of dollars, though, it's been this whole adventure has been like $15,000. And so similar to Cody from Fly to Fire, where he said that him and his friend, his business partner, they put in like $40,000, and even with 20,000 in sales, that kind of validates the idea, but it's not profitable.
Yeah.
And so how do you balance those things? I mean, that's really interesting and that's not an obvious thing to answer when you do a startup. With something low capital like blogging or podcasting, where it's maybe $1,000 a year, and with ads or something, you could scale it up depending on your content and your views. Well, that's a little bit easier to be like, oh, this is profitable and worth my time. Well, when something's a physical product and a lot of time and space, it's an interesting thing.
Definitely helpful when your side hustle is actually making money because then you feel validated and you want to keep
Yeah.
going and you get encouraged. So Dylan says, so back to the burned out question, because we kind of got off track when we started about how I started dating. So yeah, so how did you balance getting burned out?
Yeah. And this is something that I've dealt with for a number of years, even going back to school, like dealing with trying to do too much and then also, I guess, not trying to do too much and then also like balancing that with what I want to do. I don't know what I'm saying here. But like right now, something that I'm thinking more and more about is how do I like balance all these things and how do I simplify my life? Because I'd say probably in July or August, I don't remember when, but I was getting a little bit more burnt out. And so then looking at what I'm doing, figuring out what's essential, and then also figuring out like, okay, how do I want to spend my time? Because something that is one of my core principles is it kind of goes in line with the financial independence principles. But I really, what the whole movement is about is how do you create a life that you want, that you're living, and that you'll be happy with what you're doing. And so remove the money. It's more just like, how can I do the things I want every day that I like on my own terms or on my family's terms?
Right, but how does that all help with being burned out?
Well, I was kind of explaining it where I get every once in a while you take on too much. I mean, that was the same thing with you and May.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were stressed, and so
Super
it's like
stressed out.
so taking a break or going on a little mini vacation or doing something that kind of breaks it up.
Super
And then
helpful.
that kind of goes back to the question of like what's essential and what matters here. And then once you have that question in mind, then that sometimes can help refocus you and yeah. And then also just looking back too on how you got there, I think that helps too. It's like, yeah, you're burnt out, but you came so far, so maybe it's time to keep going. I don't know.
When I started getting burnt out with the rental property and trying to spin up multiple businesses online and, earn money for myself, because, apparently that's what you have to do when you quit your W-2 job is earn money. And yeah, it's something had to go. I overloaded myself. The schedule was too much. And it was the house that was causing the most stress and was the worst ROI in both time and energy and stress and money. So I would say you have to figure out what your best investments of your time are and then narrow everything down. And if that means giving something up, then that means giving something up.
And there's also something for focus with side hustles. Like I probably, looking back, I shouldn't have started the business with my high school friend just from a time perspective. But then also looking back, I've learned a ton. So it's like, well.
And now we have tasty kombucha in the house at basically all times,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
So I saw, I think, Ehrman, she had a question of more roommates.
Oh, yeah. At one point, she asked way back in when, if we were going to have more roommates.
I don't think roommates except for the cat.
Yeah, that roommate, man, it's awful. Poo smells up the house. He breaks glasses.
Though tying in with Dylan's new question.
Do you want to talk about the plans for the future?
Yeah. So
plans for the future with a capital P and a capital F.
Well, this is like a plan as of like 10 hours ago.
Yeah, it's still very much malleable and in the process of being planned out.
So recently I've been going down some interesting rabbit holes, but I just think there are certain trends in the markets and in society in general that lead itself to unsustainable practices. And so now my thoughts are like, well, wouldn't it be so, and I think there's also a piece in here where it's like just nature is amazing, but wouldn't it be awesome to go buy some land and try and figure things out sustainably? And that goes along with like creating a life that like you'd be happy with and also going into the whole financial freedom thing too. It's like if you can come up with a sustainable lifestyle that doesn't cost much, like so along those lines, I just think certain things in personal finance, like the 4% rule, I think is absolutely ridiculous. Anyways, that can be a conversation for another day.
That is a long conversation that we don't have time to get into, and I don't want to glaze out in front of the audience. So
Yeah.
we're not going to talk about that right
Yeah.
now.
So like, I don't have a number. Like I'm someone who's more like cash flow if you want to call it that. Like that's kind of my thing that I would go for. But like just being like, oh, I'm just gonna go, $2 million and I'm gonna withdraw 80,000 a year. I think that's just absolutely absurd because you can't plan for, like, things are not to apply to apply an equation to something that's not.
So anyway,
That's random. Anyways.
The plan is to buy some land up north near a large shipping port of some kind, or easy to access via non-traditional manners like, canoeing or something, in case the poo really hits the rotating matter in the ceiling. Anyway, buy some land, start growing our own crops, maybe some animals of some kind, and then have a house that works for us, and then build some log cabins for Airbnb for people to come up and stay in. So you're all welcome. We'll have those up, sometime in the next decade. So stay tuned for more information on that in the next decade.
Yeah, but I think it's also just a cheap thing, or a cheaper thing too. So now this kind of ties into the airman's question. But
she asked, "What's the craziest thing you've done to save money?"
So the Minneapolis market is not expensive per se, but my house has appreciated a decent amount. And now that we're living together and I don't have roommates, I don't need this much space. We don't need this much space. And so why should I hold on to a $300,000 plus asset when I could take my gains and take some of the appreciation and either put that into the market, put that into a different market, put that into real estate? I could take the gains.
We're not putting it in Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's gonna be my 401k. We do live up north, but Minneapolis is not like Duluth or Brainerd area.
Several hours left of north in Minnesota from where we're at.
There's still it's about 7 hours to the Canada border.
I don't know where Teowataki. I don't know what that is.
T2, I have no idea. What does Chelsea say?
Chelsea says, Eric, have you looked? I don't know. I can't see it.
Well, type.
My computer is having some slight technical issues. Thanks, Dylan, for cursing us. So, yeah, there's still a little bit of problems.
Unpopular opinion segment. Yeah, that's coming up.
Chelsea asks, Eric, have you looked at Frugalwood's post on the cost differences between rural and urban suburban living?
No, I haven't.
I have. And I know that our lives are going to become drastically cheaper in certain areas and drastically more expensive in others. For example, we'll probably have to get rid of my car because up north gets a lot more snow than we do, and it stays snowier for longer, which I don't know if that's possible or not, but apparently that's true. So probably have to get some sort of truck, just like the Frugalwoods did. And then it's going to be a lot of startup costs to do the things we want. We're going to have to buy the fruit trees, buy the vegetables, and get all the beds in and everything. So yeah, there's going to be some cost differences. So probably for the first couple of years, what we save in housing costs is going to be a bit more in other life costs.
Yeah. And one thing with the job I'm in now, I think that there can be a possibility to work from home as well. And so if internet, again, I don't think we're going full Frugalwoods. That's not,
we would be more homesteady than the Frugalwoods because we would have animals.
No, well, so originally my thoughts were to go super off grid, but now we're not. We're just outskirts.
I refuse to go super off grid. I said
I don't think that's for me either.
No tiny house. So we're definitely going to have a place that has internet and electricity. So that's nice.
No, so the point is I don't know what the point is.
Anyway,
But not like super homes, like not super off grid, like just like outskirts of town, more community. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. We'll have internet though, so then I can at least. I think that some of this will be hopefully working from home. Maybe that'll kill my career prospects, but also at the end of the day, like
maybe.
I don't know. There's all of a sudden now, then you could just build a resort out of log cabins.
Teotihuacan apparently means the end of the world as we know it, which actually makes a lot of sense. And yeah, kind of, there's a little bit of prepper element to that as well, which he's gotten into in the past, and we had to throw out a whole bunch of water bottles and canned carrots that were hanging around in his closet. So yeah, there's definitely a little bit of that as well. But you know, it never hurts to be more self-sufficient, especially you know if the world ends as we know it.
Yeah.
So I'm not terribly opposed. I grew up gardening. I know how to can and you know do some other that thing. So I think this works out nicely for both of us once we came to an agreement that I wasn't moving out into the middle of nowhere and have only bears and moose for neighbors.
Yeah. Again, being able to cash out of my house for between, I think at the low end, $50,000, at the high end, maybe 100, and then being able to go put that into a low cost of living area. When you think about it that way, when Gwen only needs the internet and then access to different material places, if you're going to be doing stained glass or stuff like that, we don't need to be living in a high cost of living area, even if this is relatively lower than in New York, Seattle, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C. Are we defending our plans? Even though we haven't really even done much, we've been looking at like land for like a week.
We have an awesome book called The Backyard Homestead, and that is like the Bible for homesteaders. It is amazing. They have all sorts of recipes and it tells you like when to plant stuff and like how to extend the seasons and everything. It's awesome.
Wait a second.
So Dylan says,
I gotta call him.
Speaking of the end of the world as we know it, I once worked on a complete apocalyptic compound, converted a historic farmstead into a peeper's paradise. Peeper's paradise? Added tunnels, solar, wind, and hydroelectric lookout
There's
towers.
a bunch of peepholes.
Filtering systems, distillery, millions of dollars. Most fun, insane project I ever designed. Lived there for months while working on it. Can I buy that? Because that sounds awesome. And it sounds like most of the hard work has already been done. So definitely a fan of that. Yeah, that's tentatively what we're thinking about for the future. So Dylan, I'm not giving up 2 months into the homesteading. And Aaron Milldollar, there might be some kids. And by kids, I mean baby goats. Maybe. I don't like goat milk, so not really.
Do you like ice cream?
Yeah, I do like some
goat cheese. I don't know what I'm talking about.
There's this local place in the place that I used to live last time that had goat cheese and crisp cherry or burned cherry ice cream. It tasted exactly like cheesecake, cherry cheesecake, and it was amazing. So yeah, I do like that, but you couldn't taste the goaty at all. I had raw goat milks one time, and it was like I literally had just licked it off the goat because it was so gross.
Okay, so are you going to go to the last question here?
Yes, and to round out everything, I asked him, what is it like to have the best girlfriend ever?
What is it like to have, or what is it like to live with?
What is it like to have?
Oh, awesome.
That encompasses
amazing.
Living.
It's very nice.
Mm-hmm. He can keep going. He can keep saying more nice things about me.
It was a struggle at the beginning.
It was a struggle at the beginning.
I'm someone, well, okay, so maybe I'll post this picture at some point.
Don't post the picture. Oh my goodness.
So when we moved out of her house at the beginning of April, I was like, okay, so we drove down to your house, and then I was gonna help you out, and we got a 16-foot long truck,
box truck from U-Haul,
and then I started putting boxes in, and about an hour in, I'm like, how many more boxes do we have? And then you're like, oh, there's still upstairs that we have to get.
Yeah, so we had just cleaned out the studio, and they're like, okay, now time to tackle the attic.
I'm just like, oh my gosh.
It was very
I was
deceptive as to how
so
much stuff there was.
it took like 4 hours. And this is after I told her, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come down and move, so you should go through some of your stuff
And
and
I
throw away some
did.
stuff.
I got rid of my dresser. I left my futon and table behind, and I left a bunch
That's
of
not
kitchen stuff behind. It is totally true. I got rid of a bunch of stuff,
Yeah, and so then
and he still freaked out.
and then it was snowing.
8 inches in April.
And so then
in Minnesota.
when we got back to my house, then it was snowing, and so we were like, okay, we'll leave it out for uh we'll leave it out for the night and then do it in the morning. And so then in 8 inches of snow, then we unpacked everything, but then her stuff took up 2.5 rooms, like floor to ceiling, wall to wall. I was like, oh my gosh, I was so stressed.
He was super stressed out. It was not floor to ceiling, and it was more like 2 rooms.
Text me for the picture.
That was around the table in the middle of one room, so it was really like ringing one room. It was not that bad. As somebody who lived alone for the last 5 years, having one 16-foot box truck full of stuff is not that bad.
I was so stressed. So like for me, like this goes back to a question that Airman Dollar said, Mill Dollar. She asked, what was it, the craziest thing I did to save money? Or what?
Yeah, for the Forbes question, what's the craziest thing you did to save money?
I don't buy things for myself.
He does not buy things for himself. His last pair of shoes was 4 years ago that his mom got him for Christmas.
Yeah. And then
most of his underwear and undershirts, also Christmas gifts from his parents.
And most of the furniture in my house is gifts or free.
90% of the furniture is a gift or free from relatives, and the other 10% is IKEA.
So maybe like 25% now.
Okay, yeah. So see, Airman Mill Dollar says she had 136 boxes on the last move, plus furniture.
Yeah, it's time to get minimalist.
See, this is what I'm saying. I do not have a lot of stuff. It's just a lot of stuff because this guy lived like a hermit.
Yeah.
Not a hermit.
Well, okay, so to answer the question more, saving money for me is just naturally not spending much.
It's true.
Because I'm all about #relationships.
Yeah. So you're going to take me out on more dates?
Yeah. We already go out on at least 1 or 2 a week.
No, riding bicycle.
You walked home and picked me up today.
I did walk to your. Okay, so Eric texted me. He goes, "I'm walking home." So I walked halfway, met him, and then walked halfway with him home from work.
It was a good date.
It was a nice time, but I don't qualify that as a date. I think there's other things that we can do, like going out to the local apple orchard and picking apples.
Yeah.
Which we were going to do, but then it was seriously 90 degrees last weekend, so we're like, we're not going to go sweat for no reason. That's just stupid.
Yeah. So back to the original question of the struggle. So that first week I was just like, okay, you're going to go through all these boxes. She still had like her first grade, like assignment 8A, writing sentences out. I was like, why do you have that? Like, that's not memorable. Throw it away.
It totally is memorable. See? Thank you, Dylan. That does not qualify as
Thank you, Dylan. I get it. I'm joking a little bit.
We just wanted to make it abundantly clear. So thank you for helping me draw that line in between life activities and dates.
I was so stressed.
He was super stressed.
I'm still stressed thinking about it.
He was a little stressed, but since then I've gone through and gotten rid of like 6 boxes worth of things, so that's a lot. I have probably more to go. I did lose my marbles, all 814 of them. So yeah, there's definitely things that I don't need, but there are things that qualify as special memories, like my first grade writing book that I refuse to get rid of because they're very important. Maybe we'll scan them.
Yeah, so there are valuable things.
We could scan them.
There are definitely things of value from those boxes. It just, there needed to be a filtering.
Anyway, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on that, which brings me to the end of our Facebook Live. And I'm actually really sad to end this one because it's been really fun. They like doing
Do we have
this.
any last questions? Do I get the final two or something like that?
Yes, the final two is where can people find you? How can they listen to you if they want to hear more about your insane rants? I mean, rabbit hole theories.
So my blog, The Mastermind Within, I had a podcast that I'm putting on hiatus now as of today. So there's 34 episodes of that where I did interviews and a couple solo episodes, and Gwen is on episode 7 if you want to hear more about how I met her blogging. We did a full episode on that.
That was recorded shortly after I moved in, right?
No, that was before. That was in February.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's that. And then I recently dropped a new podcast with Simplistic Steph called the Simple Minded Millennial Podcast, which is all about getting millennials to success, but with there's a twist.
Accurate with the name.
There's a twist because there's a lot of joking involved and it's more conversational. We're not doing interviews we're not featuring interviews. It's just me and Steph talking and then throwing in dad jokes and throwing in
other random things that most people don't get.
Unpopular opinions, Coors Light, and jokes about why the South is bad. No, I'm joking. That was a joke. Anyway, you should definitely go listen to that if you're a millennial wanting success and laughter.
I would just like to point out that Erik is not high, and he does not do edibles or smokes some weed before he records his podcast. Weed free.
Except once we get to 100 reviews, I'm going to tell the story of the one time I've ever been high.
It was an accident. Hashtag.
That's why
spoilers.
the story will be pretty funny.
All right. And so then one last question from the audience. Airman Mill Dollar asks, who knows me better, Jay or you?
I'd hope it's me. I don't know. We have to have a quiz.
I mean, ooh, that might be something good. You guys can fight over who knows me better. I like that. This is great. This is a good idea.
I've lived with you for.
Actually, I don't know.
I've lived with you for multiple months now, so I better know.
My answer to that question is both of them know me well, but in different ways.
I've read all of your blog.
Yeah, so has she. Anyway, yeah. So they're.
I actually haven't.
Both of them.
Have you read my blog?
Yeah, all of it. I binged read it after I read the first post. After I got invited up to your house to see you. It's like, I better know this guy. That's how I knew what your love language was before that.
What is it?
Acts of service.
That's true.
Which is why I brought things. All right. Anyway, I'm going to end this live. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, I won't have one next week, and I probably won't have the one the week afterwards, as we'll be at Disney. So hang tight for a couple weeks break, and we'll be back with hopefully a content schedule so you can, mark out your calendar and who you want to listen to and ask questions of and everything. So we'll see you in 2 weeks, and I'll be back after losing my voice and drinking a whole lot of beverages and having a whole lot of fun at FinCon.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, Gwen.
You're welcome. See you later.